In this lesson for Nik Software Sharpener Pro 3.0, we'll discuss the user interface working within Sharpener Pro inside Adobe Photoshop Lightroom 2. Once you've launched Lightroom and you've selected the image you wish to edit, there are two ways to access Sharpener Pro. You can go to the drop-down menu under Photo, come down to Edit In, and select Sharpener Pro Output Sharpener, or you can also use a right-click or on a Mac a control-click and edit in Sharpener Pro 3.0 Output Sharpener. First thing you see before it goes into our interface is you'll be presented with some choices. You can edit a copy with the Lightroom adjustments, and that will be all the edits that we're about to do will go to a new file, to a new TIFF file. Or you could edit a copy of the original file without seeing the Lightroom adjustments, or you can edit the original, again without seeing the Lightroom adjustments. I always choose to edit a copy with the Lightroom adjustments just so I understand exactly where I am and exactly what I'm seeing. So I'll click Edit on that, and now you'll see that as we are opening the interface, the software makes a second copy of the file. It's a TIFF file. So now we're in the interface. Interesting thing about sharpening is that what makes sharpening unusual is that it's always a guesswork. In other words, for the most part, photographers are sharpening their pictures based on what they see on their screen or their monitor. And sadly, that's unfortunate because what they see in their finished print or their finished output generally doesn't replicate what they see on their screen. So what Sharpener Pro does is it removes the guesswork by setting some parameters that will optimize the sharpening specifically based on that particular output. Okay, to start off with, let's take a look around the interface. In the upper left corner are the different view modes. Single image view, which is what we're looking at now. There is a split preview, which gives you the ability to move this red line back and forth so you can see before and after, which is a real useful tool. And then also you can see side-by-side comparison so you can see before and after. And for now, we'll just leave this on single image preview, which also gives me the access to the preview checkbox, the before and after checkbox. You can also go to the mode over here. You can see the final sharpened image, or you can also see a sharpening soft proof, which will very closely replicate what you will see in a finished print. And then also you can see the effect overlay and the effect mask if we choose to sharpen selectively. And I'll show you more about that in just a moment as we get to that area. But we can sharpen our pictures overall, and we can also sharpen specific areas of our picture based on a couple of technologies that we've come up with. Also up here in the top we have Select Tool, which is the shortcut Command A, the Zoom Tool, which is the Z, the Hand Tool or Pan Tool, which is the H key for the shortcut, and then also you can go through the different tonalities of the background color from light gray, dark gray, medium gray, whatever is most comfortable for you. Now what's fun about the sharpening is that all the output information, sharpening information, is right here in the upper right corner. So for example, let me just drop down this window and show you some of the options that we have. Display, which is the default setting, it's the top one in the list, is ideally suited for visually sharpening on your screen when you're going to use the image on your website, when you're going to use it for a projected image on a screen through a VGA monitor, something like that. Next would be inkjet, which is exactly that. If you're going to make an inkjet print, there are several parameters within here to set and adjust. And all the algorithms for sharpening are based on what you choose as the output. For example, the viewing distance, the paper type. In fact, let's say we go down to luster paper. And then also the resolution of the printer. Let's say we're using a desktop printer that's 28 by 14, so we'll use that as our setting for the resolution for the sharpening. And then you'll see here that we've got image height and width. Now I have this displayed right now. Let me just show you under the settings menu. If I click on the settings menu and go to output sharpening settings, you can see several different things that basically you have control over the behavior of the software, if you will. The bottom one is image size sliders, and it's display or do not display. Now we do not display this, which is recommended for Photoshop. However, and that is because Photoshop will read as we open the interface and you resized your picture in Photoshop. Photoshop will actually resize that picture for you. Now, in Lightroom, it behaves a little bit differently. In Lightroom, it basically changes the size of your file. It readjusts your file size upon exporting. So it doesn't change the file before it comes into our interface. That's why we suggest that you go ahead and display the size if you're going to work within Lightroom. Click OK, and then that gives you the access to these size sliders here. So I could set this, for example, if I look down the lower right corner here, it says this image was 11.6 by 7 inches or so. So I would probably set that, excuse me, I would want to set that right in here, so I know that I've got that set appropriately for the output. Then we also, I'll just close up the sharpening output. Now we also have some creative sharpening. And what's great about this is that right now my output sharpening strength is 100%. I cannot over sharpen this at this point. But we've got some great control here over structure, local contrast, and focus. Now these are all areas that are very, very helpful for directing viewers' attention. Structure is exactly that. It's like fine textures within the image. Think of it as areas between fine lines. And then the local contrast is exactly that. It's the small lines themselves and small localized contrast. Focus is exactly as you might guess. If I move my slider to the right, areas that are slightly out of focus will come more into focus. And if I move it to the left, areas that are slightly out will move further out of focus. For example, in this case, we also want to, if I zoom into this, by double-clicking on the butterfly, that moves me to 100%. And my loop tool now is a navigator that I can click and drag this red box around. Well, I can see how sharp that wing is on the left. But if I go over to the right, look how soft that wing is. Well, in this case, I can selectively sharpen, add sharpening just to that wing by just coming down to the selective sharpening. I'll use a control point, and I'll just click on add a control point. I'll place it right here on this butterfly's wing, and I'm going to bring the size down to where it's just affecting that area. Now, the top slider right here is the output strength, which I'll leave it at 100%. That's just fine. But then this little show hide triangle gives me access to structure, local contrast, and focus. So in this case, I want a little more texture in the wing, so I'm going to bring up the structure. I'll also bring up a little bit more localized contrast. But then let's bring that focus slider up quite a bit too. Let's see if we can't bring up a little bit more focus in this wing. Here we go. And so what we've just done is, let me click right here on this control point area on the right. This first checkbox will turn that off so you can see the before, and here's the after. And you can see that it really makes a difference in the picture. You can also go back up to this split preview that we have in the top left, and I can just click and drag that left and right to see before and after. And you can see that it really does help this picture. So selective focus is a really great thing, and the beauty of this again is that there's no guesswork involved. All the parameters have been set for my output. I don't have to think about it. All I have to do now is click OK, hit save, and I'm going back into Lightroom. The image, there'll be a new image there that'll be a TIFF file, and all of the editing that I just placed into this file will be placed on that new image. So I didn't harm the original. It's completely non-destructive. And here we're back into Lightroom, as you can see, and you can roll over these files and look at the naming just above the file in this area here. There's my edited copy, that's a TIFF file, and there's my original, which was the JPEG. So it's very quick, very simple, and again, the thing is that all the Nik software products designed to optimize your pictures, enhance your work, and make it fast and easy to use, and intuitive to use. This requires very little thinking. All you do is just plug in all the parameters. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope it's helpful for your work.